So I'm Ben Humber, Fox Rage consultant, and today I've come down onto the Somerset levels on a rather misty day, quite close, which is perfect conditions for perch fishing and also perfect conditions for drop shot. Mainly because at this time of year in the autumn, the silvers are all bunched up together, and you know, it can be great jig fishing, but we know where they are, and that's when drop shot can come into its own. So hopefully today I can show you a few things I do, which will get a few more fish on the bank, hopefully for me today and for you in the future. A lot of people drop shot, but a lot of people are still getting it wrong. There's many different ways to drop shot. It's been sweeping the world, let alone the country, but we finally got it here in England, and we're a little bit behind, but we are doing the best we can. And I think what we do find is that there's certain styles and techniques when we do drop shotting, and that's what I want to explain to you today. Those little edges, those little differences, just using different components and different styles of lures, that's what can make a huge difference in your catch rate. So hopefully today I can put proof to the pudding and show you that. So fingers crossed, see how we get on. This is a typical place you'll get on all canals and rivers. It's just a dead end where there's a pumping station, where there's a feature, there's sheer vertical banks, which is man-made. Perch love them. The closer you can fish to them, the better. They just use them. Ooh, already just seen a scattering, so I know there's definitely perch here, because that wasn't pike. And what I'm going to do is just creep in and try and get the drop shot very, very close to the wall. And try and make this look like a little injured fish, which to be honest isn't hard, because the tail does a lot of the work for you, and you just have to twitch the rod tip and let it sink and let it draw. I'm not rushing, because there's no point in rushing to a swim, because you might only get one chance. You might hook a really big fish, or you might hook some small fish, but either way those fish are on edge all the time. They're not used to humans being in their environment, so it's best just to take your time. You're okay talking, because I don't spook off that, it's vibration. So when I walk to a swing, I walk up to it, I wait, and then I fish it. And sometimes that just really helps you not spook out those fish from underneath your feet. Plenty of scattering down that here, so let's see if we can get one. Always check it hasn't wrapped around the end of the rod tip, because that can be a fatal error. You can hook into a fish and there's no give on the drag, so always make sure that's good to go. Make sure you're happy with the lead, make sure you're happy with the lure, make sure you can always see that hook point. If you can't see that hook point and you can't feel it, and that fish can't feel it either, so you're going to have struggle with hookups. Let's see if we can get one now. So just slowly, I can feel the weight of the lead on the end of the rod tip. And just twitching it up and down. What we're trying to do is catch their attention. Quite often I bring it up to the surface and lower it back down again. Because what happens is I think it's getting away, and then I kind of hit it and lower it back down again. Keep at it, keep jiggling it. Sometimes you can let people gently. Oop, that's not good. There it is, lovely perch salad. I lost the fish a minute ago. wasn't a huge fish, but it was a fish, it was a perch, it was about ½ pound out on the surface and the hook pulled. But what I've done is I've just changed. I've actually upped the lure size, which is the opposite to what a lot of people would do when they're only getting finicky bites. So I've done the opposite, and I've gone to a slightly bigger lure, but I've gone to a spiky, so it's got a different profile to it. And I'm going to give that a go, just see if I can maybe tempt a bigger fish. And then what I'm going to do is, rather than keep things static, I'm going to gently draw it across. Now, because that lead is set here, what it's going to do, it's going to keep my lure in the kill zone. And I'm going to be able to just work along this little concrete structure here and then see if there's anything there. So fingers crossed. Okay, so today I'm going to be using a specific rod, and that's a drop shot rod. It may look like an ordinary lure rod with regards to length, however what it does have is an incredibly supple tip. Now, there's many reasons for that. You can feel the lead, so you don't want to be lifting the lead off the bottom with a rod and not being able to feel that you're in control of it. You want to just be slightly lifting it and be able to feel that lure, and obviously for feeling those bites, because quite often they can be a little gentle pluck and not a huge hit. And then you've got plenty of backbone when you come further down the rod, so that enables you to actually set the hook home as well. So you feel the bite and then you can set the hook home. And on a rod like this one here is the new one out of the Prism range. It's 5 to 21 gram and it's 210 centimetre. And we don't need a huge reel, because a lot of the time we're fishing very close in as well, and we're fishing for perch. You know, we're not going for pike, we're actually going for perch. You may get the odd pike, but it's a bycatch. We're really targeting perch with this, and it's a 1,000 size reel we use on this, and this makes it nice and balanced. And then we've also got the new Prism braid on there as well, and that's pretty much the perfect outfit for this country for tackling perch and zander if they're there in our canals and rivers and lakes. So I've just moved just a few hundred metres down really, because those fish, I could watch them and they were striking and they were heading up this way. So just out over here, I've seen some really nice fish moving. So I'm hoping, I've stuck with the spiky in the hot olive. It's quite a lot of bottom weed here, but the beauty about the drop shot is, okay, the lead might be in the weed, but my actual lure is going to be coming across the top of the weed. So I'm hoping, another one just went then. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to, I'm just going to leave it in situ and just try and mimic an injured fish by just lifting and dropping that rod tip. As you can see, it's a beautiful sunny day down in Somerset. I'd like to say the rain's easing off, but I'd be lying, because it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier. But again, another strike. The fish are feeding, they're feeding out there. We're not going to call it a day until I catch a fish, because they are definitely feeding out there. Cameraman might disagree with me, but we are definitely going to keep going while those fish are feeding, because I'm sure sooner or later one will get triggered. So I worked around the edge of that shoal and I've just brought it back, just twitching and dropping it all the way across. So you don't have to keep drop shot static, there's no fixed rules. Like I say, you can see there a prime example of what I said there. So I picked up that little bit of marginal weed there, but if you look how much weed's on the lead, but you know, that lure was coming back until it got into the margins there, relatively weed free. I just had what looked like a decent perch or a jack. Just follow in when I just literally lifted it out. I had a bit of weed on the lead again and it kind of came up and then went down again. So I'm just sinking and dropping the lure. I can't actually see because I can't wear my Polaroids, which I'd always wear because this rain is so heavy. See, that felt like a pluck. Oh, hang on, hang on, hang on. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Get it in the net. Oh. Ah. We got one. It wasn't a jack, it was a perch. Wow. And it's a nice one. There we go, look at that. A Somerset levelled perch. And a beautiful specimen. Look at that, there's that lure, hot olive. Wait, still pretty lively that one. So I got it in really, really quickly because that's pretty much how I am with my fish. You know, the sooner you can get it in, the better for the fish, the better the hook isn't going to come out, and it puts a lot less stress into the fish as well. So as quick as I can. I also keep it out of the weed. I try and get it in the net as quick as I can. It works for me. It definitely helps the fish. So let's have a look at this one on the mat. Wow, what a beauty. This is a Somerset. Oh, look at that. It fell out without me even having to take it out. That was lucky. And that shows the importance of keeping a really tight line when you have a fish on, because you can let it go slack and it can just change its angle. And then when it pulls again, hook comes out. And it just goes to show that it did it in the net. Whoa, 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 whoa. And they're also very lively when you get them in quickly. This one's got lovely. Look at that. Beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. Wow. Really deep set, big shouldered, autumnal perch. Look at that. Wow. Oop. Look at that there. You don't want to be a little roach or a little rudd when you've got these swimming around. Absolutely beautiful. Just caught on those ready tie drop shot rigs. Huge mouth perch have. You see that mouth there, that once that can take big lures, big fish, little fish. Absolutely lovely. 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 Well chuffed with that. I'm going to get this one back. Actually, I might rest this one in the net while I have a quick couple of casts and see if there's any more out there, because that can quite often happen, because these are shoal fish still at this size. Could be half a dozen or so maybe in a shoal. Let's have a go, see if we can catch some more. So as you can see, the heavens have opened and on the Somerset levels. It happens a lot in the autumn at this time of year. But what I'm going to show you now is something which is really, really good to have in your fishing bag if you're going out fishing for the day. So you can just change from lure fishing to drop shot within seconds. And that's the new drop shot kit from Fox Rage. And here you've got the micro kit. So there you've got a selection of different lures there, and also a selection of weights. This one here, they're tied to a size 8 hook, and you've got 7 gram jig head in there. So that would do most of your canals and rivers and lakes in this country. Simply, you unwind it off the winder, and then it's got a loop on the end, so you can just do a normal grinner knot or blood knot or your favoured strong knot, or you can actually do a loop to loop method. So seconds, absolutely seconds to change over to start drop shotting. And if you were jig fishing and you found a big shoal, which can happen at this time of year, I would take the jig off and get the drop shot on and really start working around the edges of that bait fish shoal, because no doubt that's where the predators are going to be. And that's when drop shot can really come into its own at this time of year. Here comes the rain again. Just had that cracking perch. And I thought, I wasn't 100% sure, but I did think I saw another one follow it in, but I don't know, it's really hard to tell without those Polaroids. But what I've done is I've just gone to the van, rested the swim, which can be a really good idea, and I've got my big pike net and I've put it down in close, and I've put that perch in there. It's going to be no harm, it's only going to be in there, probably I'm not going to give it much more than 20 minutes here. And I've rested it down in there, just because I don't really want it shooting back out and sending out distress signals and spooking the other ones, and it'd be lovely to see if I could get a brace shot of a really nice perch, because every now and again there's still a scatter, you can make it out. You know, it's silly for me to try another swim when there's fish out there. You shouldn't leave fish to find fish, so you've got to keep, oh, hang on. Keep it under the water. That's how you net them. Straight in, straight in. Beautiful. Wow, there we go, proof in the pudding. That hook ain't falling out, that hook is in there. Get that now. Spiky shad. Caught me God knows how many fish that lure, either with jig head or drop shot. There you go, leeches on that one. Little leech on its head there. That's a longer fish, much longer. Ooh. You look how long that fish is, it's beautiful. That's a lovely fish. Much darker than the other one, I think, as well. Wow. Helicopter above there. Look at that for a fish. Big hump on it there. Let's have a look. Wow, look at that. Beautiful. Okay, well, I'm going to get this one straight in the net with the other one quickly, because if there's two, there could well be more than two. So I'm going to give it a go now and see what we can get. So I think earlier I mentioned that there's many different techniques for drop shotting. There's you get your own style, the same with lure fishing of any kind. You work your own ways. I'm quite a fast lure fisherman with regard to my jig fishing and things like this, and that goes in also into my drop shot fishing as well. Many times drop shotting can outperform jig fishing if you can find fish held up. Maybe they're in the winter, they're under a boat which is a bit warm, or they're underneath a bridge where there's a bit of shade. And jig fishing, yeah, it's good, but it's going in and coming out very, very quickly. In the dead of winter, especially freezing conditions, they don't want to expend a lot of energy chasing after a piece of plastic which they're not sure is food. Whereas this can actually be placed in their living room, if you like it, and that can actually really make a difference in your catch results. It really can. The two styles mainly, I'll just show you in the margins of what I would do is okay, let's just say I've put that alongside a canal boat. I want to feel the lead. I'm not bouncing the lead across the bottom. You don't need to do that. You know, you're trying to catch perch. That lead to a perch is big. The last thing you want to be doing is slamming that lure in like that. You know, you can just gently go alongside, say, that canal, and you can just lower it down. You might get a hit on the drop. Once it's on the bottom, just leave it and just feel for the weight of the lead. Once you feel the weight of the lead, you should then just be able to feel the weight of the lure. And when you can feel that, then you can start controlling your lure. So what you can do then is just let it slack line, twitch it back up again, and then slack line, and twitch it back up. But the lead is pretty much stationary there. And then that's enabling me to just, you're really poking that perch with a stick, and he's looking at it, and in the end, he hasn't got hands, he bites it, and then you get that plunge over. And the other way, which is I favour because of my style of fishing, is to flick the drop shot out, feel it down, and then what you can do is just twitch and pull. It's a bit like sinking and draw, like you can do with dead baits. It's that type of method really, but you're using the lure and you're sinking and drawing. You can use our tungsten beads on these as well, and that will give paddle tails much more effect when they go through the water, but it's still getting pulled down by the weight, so by the drop shot weight there. So it works really, really well. And it's very weedy out there, as you can see. And I mean, if you look there, there's not a grain of weed on that drop shot lure. yet the lead has got the weed on, so you know you're working effectively as that lure is coming back across the water. The other thing is your lead weight there. Don't push it on too hard, just hard enough so that if you do snag up and you've got a fish on, or you do snag up, because you're dragging this across the bottom, there's plenty of old shopping trolleys and everything in these types of systems, so if you're dragging that across the bottom, that lead will simply come off, and then you're free and you're into the fish, so that you're able to actually get that fish in. You can replace the lead, but you don't want to lose the fish, and you don't want to leave the fish with a lure in it if you did get snagged up. So it's got two properties to that. So those are the kind of two ways that I use for drop shotting. Scanning and covering the water, and then once I find them, then going static. Little twitches, and just letting it rise and fall, rise and fall. As with all lure fishing, I would recommend finding some clear water, doing it in the margins, and when you think that looks like an injured fish, that looks like a sick fish, hopefully, so will Mr. Perch. And that's how you need to do it. Just work your pattern out in the margins, and then start imagining that when you're actually out there fishing. Fingers crossed, you might catch a few more. Wow, what a session. It's always hard catching for the camera. Sometimes it can be hard anyway. But today I've had a really good session on the drop shot. Literally all from one swim, all by fish which are by bait fish. And these lovely fish. I actually had more than this, but I didn't want to put any more in the net. But as you can see, absolute belters. They're getting nice and wet. But even so, I think we should get them back to the water so that they can carry on attacking all those silverfish. So as you can see, it's still tipping down with rain. Myself and Steve, the cameraman, are soaked through to the skin. It's all come down through the back of the neck and everything. Horrible conditions. But we haven't been here all day. We've turned up, we've seen some fish down next to the man-made structure. I lost one on the surface, which just seemed to spook the shoal. But then we looked upriver, a couple of 100 metres, and we could see a shoal of silverfish, and I think it was pike and perch attacking them. But we went up, and the drop shot rig, that's where it came into its own, by casting out and then just drawing it slowly past the edge of the shoal of that bait fish. And as you saw, I had some amazing perch fishing in a very short space of time as well. Rested them in the net. We've got some lovely pictures of them. It just shows how productive drop shot can be, whether it's static or whether it's moving. So I think that's probably us done for today. We've come out, we've achieved what we wanted, and I think we're both going to go home and dry off and maybe venture out when it's a little bit sunnier.